Hey everyone. Today I have a Pot of the Forbidden deck profile. I've been slowly building this deck from scratch for the past 6 months or so. This is my favorite deck of all time, so I've tweaked it countless times as I've wanted to make it as competent as possible. Still, I'd say this is a strong casual deck. However, it can handle a ton of rogue decks. Could even be rogue if it was played enough, and even some higher grade decks. One of those decks, at Emancipators, in just single duels on Nexus, I'm actually 2-0 against him with this build. I'm sure it doesn't mean much, but I think at least one of those players knew what he was doing. Anyway, so let's get right into the profile. To start, I am running 3 Pot of the Forbiddens. A bulk of your strategy essentially is trying to activate one of his effects as much as possible. His effect is only once per turn, however, there are plenty of ways to bring this card out from your deck and recycle from the graveyard. So you'll be seeing this card a lot, and you'll be having quite a bit of opportunities to activate one of his effects. Next up, the Prediction Princess engine. So I'm running 3 Prediction Princess Tarot Trays. Probably the best monster card in your main deck. I would say Pot of the Forbidden is doing more brute force work. However, that is heavily assisted by Tarot Tray's ability to bring them out so easily. So Tarot Tray's effects, one of them read, once per turn during your end phase, special summon 1 flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position. So as a level 9 ritual monster, ideally you are attributing off Pot to summoner, and then during your end phase you just get Pot right back. Additionally, she has a quick effect where you can target one face up monster on the field and change it to face down defense position, or vice versa, target a face down monster in the field and flip it up. So, one great play with this card during your opponent's turn is you can target your activate Tarot Tray, target face down Pot, flip it up, activate Pot, and then do whatever you need to do. Destroy all their monsters or whatever. So, and you don't want to forget to use your effect during your own turn too. You can target your face up Pot, flip him face down, and then just flip summon Pot to get its effect off again. And ideally, you do want to go first with this deck. You can just set a monster and then get that monster's flip effect off right off the bat. 3 Prediction Princess Kueinormas. This card reads, flip, you can special summon 1 level 3 or higher flip monster from your hand or deck in face down defense position. Also, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Prediction Princess monsters. Kueinorma and Tarot Tray are the only Prediction Princess monsters, so you can still activate Tarot in the deck. So you can still activate Tarot Tray at the same turn you activate Kueinorma. No other monsters in the deck, though. Something to take into consideration. Because if your opponent is smart, or if they're paying attention and reading your cards, because ideally you will be using this card to bring up Pot of the Forbidden from your deck. But if your opponent's paying attention, they'll probably attack right into your Pot, and most likely it'll stay alive and they'll take damage. However, you won't be able to activate Pot's effect. So something to consider. Really good set and pass card if you happen to brick. Deus Ex Crawler. Now this is a great piece for this deck. So it's another level 9 monster, which is going to help with rank 9 Xyz plays. There are actually 7 level 9s in the deck. But the main reason why I'm running this card is for one of his effects that reads, after this card was flipped face up, while it is in the monster zone, you negate all monster effects activated on your opponent's field. So that's really good. But here's another effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this face down monster, quick effect, change this card to face up defense position, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So additional protection from when he's face down. Also, if X Crawler gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you can search out a Tarot Tray. So that's nice. But yes, of course, negating your opponent's monster effects is why we run this card. It's a great alternative option to bring onto the field instead of Pot of the Forbidden. Sometimes this card will be the card that locks your opponent down and wins the game. And of course, we can access any flip monster in this deck quite easily, so if we really do need him, we should be able to get him. And yeah, that one scenario, that situation you're looking to utilize him, is when you have Tarot Tray on the field and him face down. You can essentially wait for the right time and activate Tarot Tray as Chain Link 2 to your opponent's monster effect, and then target X Crawler. It'll flip up. Its effect is continuous, by the way. It cannot be chained to, so it doesn't need to wait for the chain link to resolve. The chain will resolve, and they just will not be able to have their monster effect activated. But ideally, you kind of do want to be attacked into, but you always have that option to negate their effects if you need it. And they never see it coming, too, which is pretty amusing. So that's a really fun interaction. So next up, the Tindangle engine. 1 Tindangle Trinity. Trinity reads, flip, you can special summon 1 base Gardener from your deck. 1 Tindangle base Gardener from your deck. Also, if this card was flipped face up, your Tindangle monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's just some additional extra protection for the deck, as there are 6 Tindangle monsters that I'm running. So 2 base Gardeners, they're searched by Trinity, having another one's beneficial, but additionally, there's a rank 5 Xyz play that contributes towards an OTK. So having 2 base Gardeners really helps get into that. But this is kind of a multitude of reasons why I'm running this card. Additionally, base Gardener can special summon itself to the field as long as you control a face down defense position monster. So, I mean, of course, that's a lot of the time a free 2300 defense body. Nice card to have. 2 Tindangle Angels. Angel reads, flip, you can special summon 1 flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position, except another angel. And then if it is your opponent's battle phase, end the battle phase. It's a once per turn effect. So just really good recyclability for bringing back your flip monsters. A lot of the time you're going to be using this card to bring back Pot from the graveyard. Next up, Tindangle Intruder. But yeah, just a great set and pass card. The second best set and pass card behind Kueinorma, in my opinion, if you don't have anything else to do. And then 1 Tindangle Intruder, the last Tindangle monster I'm running. So this is a pretty solid card for this deck. It reads, flip, you can add 1 Tindangle card from your deck to your hand, so it can search a Tindangle card, but the main reason why I run Intruder is for its other effect, which reads, if a monster or monsters is special summoned to your field in face down defense position while this card is in your graveyard, special summon this card in face down defense position. This is not optional. So that's happening a lot. Angel does it, Tarot Tray does it, and as long as he's in your graveyard, he'll just, like I said, it's easy to forget, but he'll come right back onto the field. Nice card to run for the deck. 3 Manjus. Pretty self-explanatory. Really helps with the consistency to bring out Tarot Tray. I don't like running 3, but when I ran less than 3, I struggled in summoning Tarot Tray. And of course, Tarot Tray is a vital piece of this deck, so 3 are quite essential for the consistency of the deck. Shaddoll Engine, 1 Beast, and 1 Dragon. Basically, you have room for these cards, and they fit really nicely. 1 Pankratops. So this is a slow deck. You can side deck this card if you want, but I really think he fits in really nice in this deck as a main deck option. Like I said, it's a slow deck in general, so to be able to get him on the field just like that as a free 2600 body is just huge. And a lot of the time, most of the time, I am able to activate his effects to their fullest ability. And lastly, 1 Scapegoat. Really good card for this deck. So this deck abuses flip monster effects, of course. Just the amount of times I'm able to, go into all these link monsters, ultimately a topologic sometimes, and then just get Scapegoat's effect for next turn again, get him right back onto the field. Really good. It's a really good card, Scapegoat, in my opinion. But of course, he's a slow card, so that's why he's not run a lot. But this is a slowish deck. He fits in really well, and you're able to abuse his effects very well. So just a really solid card for the deck. Next up, Spells and Traps. To start, for spells, 3 Prediction Rituals. Pretty self-explanatory, used to summon Tarot Tray. 3 are essential for the consistency of the deck. Additionally, this card has another effect where, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard and add 1 Prediction Princess monster from your deck to your hand. So really helpful to search out a Tarot Tray or a Kueinorma. 3 Pre-Preps of Rights. Pretty self-explanatory once again. 3 are just essential for the consistency of the deck. 2 Kujikiri Curses. Like previously mentioned, I'm running 7 level 9 monsters in this deck, so you're almost always going to use this card, and of course, very beneficial to have that draw power. 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Raigeki, 1 Mind Control. Obviously very powerful cards, and you absolutely have room for them, so they should be run. 1 Instant Fusion. Now, there's only 1 target for this card, that's Invoked Raijin, but absolutely worth running. Of course, Invoked Raijin can stay onto the field if it targets himself, and that's what I'm doing every time. Just to get Raijin onto the field for free is huge in this deck, at least in this deck. So, very good card that I like to see. Every time I draw it, I'm happy. Just worth running in my opinion. Ragin is the most expensive card in the deck though, so you can remove it and him for another option. He isn't essential or anything, it just helps quite a bit. One execution of the contract. Now this is quite a new card, so I'll talk about it a bit. It's an equipped spell card. It reads, you can reveal one ritual monster in your hand. The equipped monster becomes the revealed monster's level until the end of this turn, even if the card leaves the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is tributed, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Now that last effect there, not really big deal. I mean, it's nice, but I never really get to use it. Of course, this card's used to help ritual summon Tarot Tray. However, most of the benefit I'm getting from this card isn't to summon Tarot Tray. It's just to make one random monster level 9 for a rank 9 Xyz play. 7 level 9 monsters, you're already probably going to have a level 9 on the field to begin with. Mostly I'm just using this to make a random monster level 9 so that I can go into like a True King of all Calamities or something. Very helpful card. One Concentrating Current. Now I will also justify this card quickly here. This is the card I use for OTK plays. So one of the rank 5 Xyz monsters, I mentioned earlier how I'm running a rank 5 Xyz monster that contributes towards an OTK play. That's in unison with Concentrating Current. Concentrating Current, ideally you're going to use him on Pot of the Forbidden. What Concentrating Current does, it's a quick effect spell card, or sorry, a quick play spell card, and it reads, target one face-up monster you control. It gains attack equal to its current defense until the end of the turn. Other monsters you control cannot attack the turn you activate this card. So you use this on Pot of the Forbidden, ideally, and of course, even if you can't use this for that OTK play with Pot, it's just a very beneficial card. You can use them. You can use it almost any time, right? You can use it during damage calculation to save one of your monsters. So just, even if you can't use it for the OTK, still a helpful card to have, but absolutely worth running in my opinion, just for the times that I have OTK'd my opponent. So you use this with Pot. Pot's attack goes to 5,000. The one rank 5 Xyz play allows Pot to attack 2 times, essentially 10k attack power. I also run a Daenerys the Timeless, and there's like 7 level 4 monsters in his deck, so that's an extra option for that OTK play. If you can't go into that rank 5 Xyz monster, go into Daenerys, double Pot's attack to 10k. So that's why I run Concentrating Current. And then lastly for the spells, one MST. Pot of the Forbidden can do a lot of backrow removal. Of course, I'd say half the time I activate Pot, I am removing all spells and traps from the field to the hand. So just Pot of the Forbidden in itself, and with the help of Shadal Dragon, that's a lot of backrow removal right there. So you don't really need a lot of backrow removal spells and traps. With that being said, I do have one more, and that's just a trap, starting off with my traps. One Duster. So basically why I have one of each of these, it's kind of personal preference. You could go 2 MSTs or whatever you wanted for backrow removal cards. I actually originally had 2 Dusters, but I just wanted a mix of speed and efficiency. Of course, Duster a little more efficient, bopping double the amount, but MST arguably better, probably better just for its speed. There were just too many times where I had Duster in my hand where I needed that MST. So one of each I find is a good mix. That's up to you though. And to end off the deck here, only 3 more traps, 2 Solemn Judgments, and a Solemn Strike. Now you could go 3 Judgments if you wanted. This is just my preference, and so that's the end of the main deck. I'm going to quickly go into the extra and side deck here. I will mention that Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm are the only 2 cards I would probably run if they weren't so expensive. But I can't stress that I don't think it really doesn't make that big of a difference, that target to even act. Else I'd probably just actually get the cards. So moving on to the extra deck. 1 True King of all Calamities, 1 Phantom Fortress Enter Blathner, and a 9 Lives Cat. So these 2 are probably pretty self-explanatory. Very powerful rank 9 Xyz monsters. Calamities are probably going to a little bit more, but that's more of like a long-term shut down your opponent play. Shuts them down for like 2 turns. Enter Blathner is something you're going to want to go into just to end the game in that turn, as it can utterly dispatch of a card. 9 Lives Cat's fairly new, so I'm going to talk about why I run this card and why it is absolutely worth running. So 9 Lives Cat reads, 2 level 9 monsters to summon. Your opponent cannot target other monsters you control that were special summoned from the graveyard with card effects. Not a big deal. The main reason why we run it, of course, is for its detach effects, which is you can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 level 9 monster in your graveyard, or 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon it. That's once per turn, so I'll explain why that play is very good in this deck. Um, so you're going to only ever want to go into 9 Lives Cat when you have access to Terror Tray. Let's say you don't have level 9 monsters in your graveyard. Usually you would need that target to even activate its effect. However, as long as your opponent has a monster in their graveyard, you can activate 9 Lives of Cat and bring back whatever you're detaching, because you have a valid target as a monster in their graveyard, of a monster in their graveyard. So what you're gonna do with this card is you Exeese, you overlay Tarot Tray and any other level 9. Of course, there are 6 other level 9s, and you can make any other one of your monsters a level 9 with execution of the contract, and that's why that's such a big spell card in this deck. So very easy to get to have 2 level 9s on the field. So as long as you have access to the Tarot Tray, what you do is you activate 9 Lives Cat, detach Tarot Tray, summon Tarot Tray, and then during your end phase, you activate Tarot Tray to bring back whatever else you used for 9 Lives Cat summon. Even if you don't bring back exactly what you used, you can still get another monster back with Tarot Tray. Essentially, you're bringing 9 Lives Cat out for free. It's like a free 3300 body defense. That's his defense is 3300, so you are going to be bringing him out in defense position. But of course, like I said, he's essentially coming out for free because you're getting Tarot Tray back, and then let's say you use Pot of the Forbidden as the other material, you can get Pot of the Forbidden right back using Tarot Tray. So at the end of the turn, you just have 9 Lives Cat sitting out there. Everything else that you had is essentially already back on the field. At least Tarot Tray is, which is the biggest deal. And of course, if 9 Lives Cat stays alive until your next turn, then you still have another material to detach for its effects, another free special summon. So really powerful card in this deck. Actually, yeah, I'll just go into Invoked Raging, I suppose. That's out of order. But so Invoked Raging, the only target for instant fusion, like I was saying, you bring him out into the field, you use his effect to put him to face down, and then he stays on the field. Because, of course, instant fusion is supposed to send him to the graveyard, but just to get him out there for free is huge, very powerful card. 1 Shark Fortress and 1 number 61 Volcasaurus. Shark Fortress, that's the rank 5 Exeese card I was talking about that contributes to OTKs. So ideally, I'm bringing him out there with Concentrating Current if I can, just to inflict mass amounts of damage. Its effect reads, your opponent, it's so 2 level 5 monsters. Your opponent cannot target other monsters for attacks except this one, which is pretty nice, but mainly once per turn you can detach 1 Exeese material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster you control. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. So yep, ideally you're using that for the OTK play. Volcasaurus, really good option for burn damage. I probably go into Volcasaurus the second least amount out of all extra deck monsters. It would be your first. The one I use the 15th most, I'd still want to keep in. So the rank 4 Exeese monsters, one of them is coming up to 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 number 101 Silent Honor Arc, and number 60 Daguerreus. So Daguerreus, like mentioned previously, also used for that 1 OTK play. There's like 7 level 4 monsters, so if you can get Concentrating Current off with Pot, and you can go into Daguerreus, that's 10,000 attack. Just Honor Arc, just kind of a personal preference there. I really, if I'm not going for an OTK or anything and I have extra level 4s, it's just a really good option to go into. Obviously a solid card, I go into Malai. Abyss Dweller, I go into the absolute least amount. That's the card I was talking about. But it's still just a great option for like game 2 against Salamangreats or something. I'd keep it in. Link monsters, so 1 Topologic Bomber Dragon, 1 Saryuja, 1 Nightmare Phoenix. So Bomber Dragon, just great for that burn damage option. Saryuja, or for that burn damage effect. Saryuja I exclusively only go into to draw 4 pretty much. Still really nice option. That effect is really nice, obviously. And then Phoenix, I'm pretty much only going into Phoenix when after I have mind controlled one of their top monsters. I like to save Phoenix for that play, but still just an overall powerful card. Essentially, a lot of these cards just fit into the deck. The extra deck isn't super important because Tarot Tray and Pot are doing a lot of the work, but I really spend a lot of time on this extra deck, and I feel as if all of these cards do have a purpose. So, and just to finish it off, Wee Witch's Apprentice, Linkuriboh, and Herald of Mirage Lights. So Linkuriboh and Wee Witch, you're using these a lot, especially with Scapegoat. Pretty self-explanatory cards here. Wee Witch isn't necessarily a terrific card for the deck. Tarot Tray's a light monster, and Herald of Mirage Lights, a fairly new card. I'll read its effect. 2 monsters with the same type and attribute except tokens. there are 9 different ways you can get into that card using that effect. So using those requirements. So not too hard to go into. And then its effect reads, when a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, send 1 fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard and negate the activation if you do destroy. There are also 9 fairy monsters in this deck, so ideally you want to set up this card at the beginning of your turn, and you got a free spell trap negate if you have a fairy in your hand. Really solid card, actually. So that's it for the extra deck, and I'm going to really quickly rip through the side deck, because it's not very important. I will, like I said, if I had evenly matched in Lightning Storm, this would look a little bit different probably, but I'm just going to rip through them really quick, and then I'll talk about what changes I would make. So 3 there can be only 1s. These are essential. 2 summon limits. Another Solemn Judgment. 1 Called by the Grave. 1 Forbidden Chalice. 1 Dark Ruler No More. 1 Potted Duality. 1 Swords of Revealing Light. 1 Lava Golem. 1 Tsukuyomi. 1 Joels of Dark Demise. And a Penguin Soldier. So a lot of these cards I'm just putting in there because I like them. They are good cards for the deck. Joel's is a really fun card to use. Tsukuyomi works in well. A lot of these cards were main decked at one point. Not a lot of these cards are essential. Here's what I'm going to go through really quickly what I find essential. This card you can work around very well. You got 13 different monster types in your extra deck. Your main deck has, I believe, 7 different monster types with a distribution of 9, 6, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. So you got 9 fairies, 6 fiends. Ultimately, 7 different. Like I said, there's a high concentration of fairies and fiends, but you can still navigate around this card. Pretty much most decks that, of course, run the same type of monster card, this is going to absolutely inhibit them and benefit you. I'd also say the summon limits are nice to have. You're not doing a whole lot of summoning in general, so. And then I'd say that Chalice could be an essential card. Call by the Grave probably is for your side deck. Dark Ruler, yes. Those, maybe a Lava Golem too. Those are the only ones I'd say you should run. Ideally, I'd probably have 3 Call by the Graves. And probably hand traps to fill out the rest of the deck. I'd probably keep a couple of my monsters in here. Swords is underrated because it can bop to your hand with Pot. But yeah, like I said, I'd probably run these and then maybe hand traps, more Call by the Graves. It's up to you. But it's not super important, to be honest. You don't really need to rely on this side deck at all. There can be only 1 is the biggest card, in my opinion, in the side deck. So anyway, that's going to conclude this overly long deck profile. Regardless, thank you for watching. Have a good one.